All right, guys, welcome back to the Laydown podcast. I'm your host, Ultra, joined, of course, by my co host, Lenny B, coming at you with a late night Laydown podcast. And it is for good reason because my man Lenny has delved into the numerical business, has
hmm
created a holy grail formula to rank every single NFL offense, and I'm excited. He's got a very controversial list, I think. So I'm excited to hear him justify it. We just went through a list with your Kansas receivers. Now we're going to go through a list with Lenny. So, Lenny, how you feeling?
I'm excited because I spent a lot of time on this. Like a lot of my free time has just been like working at this list. A lot of it's very like it's I don't have a calculator for a lot of this. It's just me like typing in the numbers manually. So I'm glad to like just get it out and just like share it because it's like this is really interesting in my I just think it's really interesting to talk about and I'm excited to see how right I am about all this stuff.
So he has essentially ranked every single offense. If you can explain the formula for
I'll
it.
explain it in like super numerical, like just super easy way to understand. So I gave a ranking for every single starter or potential starter on offense for every single team. So that includes quarterback, receiver 1 through 3, running back, possible running back 2, tight end, possible tight end 2, the starting offensive line, and yeah, I think I've named every single one. And basically I gave them a score on how impactful I thought they were position wise. So if I think quarterback is more important than receiver, I'll give them a multiplier. So I gave the quarterback a multiplier of 2.5 because obviously it's the most important position passing wise. And for receivers, I gave them a score of 1.2, or at least the receiver one, I gave a 1.2. And basically I stack that on top of a score that I give each player. So if a player is good, so let's just go through quarterback. So quarterback, there's two ways to or for them to be ranked. There's deep passing and intermediate. This is very like I wanted it to be very self-contained in that way where it's very vague, but it's enough to where you can, justify it. Anyway, Tom Brady, I gave him a 5 and a 6 for intermediate and deep passing. We can talk about that later because some people don't understand that he's a good deep passer still. I'd multiply that by 2.5 each individual score. So 5 times 2.5 and then 6 times 2.5. And then I would multiply on top of that how good I thought the offensive coaching was. So it would be so for the Bucks, I believe I gave them a 1.8 multiplier, and that would go 6 times 2.5 times 1.8, 5 times 2.5 times 1.8, and then I'd add them, and then I'd go down the list of each single position group for running and passing for each team, and eventually get to a total score of passing and running, and then after that, I would combine it, and I'd get the final score. I know that was a long like explanation, but
Long
I need
dissertation there, but
it's
it's
understanding why it
it's
took so long.
useful. Um,
Yes.
and by the way, this is a completely non-neutral model. It is simply just Lenny's opinion. So,
Mhm.
uh, yeah, if you're wondering where some of the rankings are, they're influenced by Lenny's opinion, but they're through a criteria, I guess.
This is completely biased by my opinion because it's my bias and how important a position is for pass and run, and how good I think each player is at certain positions. So completely biased in that way.
At number 32, Lenny has the Chicago Bears. And look, I think the Bears are they were pretty bad last year offensively. I'll
Mhm.
check the some of the stats right now. But I mean, if they were the worst offense in the league, I would not be surprised. I don't really see much to them right now.
Yeah, the Bears. So left tackle was a huge thing for this list. Quarterback and receiver one were the biggest things for this list in terms of impact individually. Receiver one is really the only thing that they have that's okay. Left tackle, they have one of the worst left tackles. I think Larry Obicombe, something like that. I don't remember exactly what his name was, but I just remember him being bad. I think that's enough justification. And Quarterback, Justin Fields. I'm not like saying Justin Fields is bad, but I've never personally been a big Justin Fields fan, so I didn't rank him very high. And then also, what was it? What was the other thing I said? I forgot already. Quarterback, receiver, and
Left tackle.
left. I already said. Okay, I already said it. Never mind. Anyway, center is also another big one. They don't have a good center either. They don't hit the check mark in any real regard other than maybe tight end, receiver one, and I guess that's really it. I mean, like I'm looking down the list of these players. I don't really see a single impact player other than Cole Kmet, Darnell Mooney, and that's it. On top of that, their offensive coordinators is not very good. So it just made for a really poor ranking.
Yeah, the Bears were 27th in points per game, and they
Oof.
were 27th in yards per play at 4.9, which, as someone who's gone back and looked at that kind of stuff, once your offense goes below 5 yards of play, because they need to hit a certain threshold to just get the amount of yardage to get first downs and keep drives going, once they hit below five, your offense really has a hard time functioning properly. And that's what the Bears were last season, and that's what Lenny thinks they will be this season. At
More
number
math stuff.
31, the Houston Texans.
Similar story. I think this
They
is a similar story.
they come in with the 30th ranked pass game and the worst run game in the league. So yeah,
I mean, you look across the board for the Texans. I know Davis Mills had a good year last year, but he's still not very good. The coaching's a mess. Personally, I'm just not a big believer in the coach with Houston. Receiver one. So this is where we start to get like just a little bit. I mean, a little better. I think the Bears are legitimately on their own tier of how bad they are. Like I swear to God. Like I mean that in the nicest way possible. But
poor
the
Bears
okay,
fans.
so receiver one, you have Brandon Cooks. I like Brandon Cooks a lot. Left tackle, you have Laramie Tunzel. I like Laramie Tunzel a lot. You have two players in my rankings where that's a big factor. Depth overall, tight end, they aren't good. Offensive line, they have some youth. They got Kenyon Green this year. I think he's gonna be solid. But overall, not a lot of impact players. They have maybe two or three on offense. Running back, they don't really have anybody. Marlon Mack is their starter. And their run game, personally, I just nothing to be excited about, really. Laramie Tunzel's the only one, and he doesn't even show up on the field a lot of the time. There's just not a lot to be excited about, but there's definitely more than the freaking Bears, I'll tell you that.
So they were 30th in yards per play, again at 4.7, below that five threshold. And at 16 and a half points per game, they were also 30th in the NFL. So not very promising there. But I think if you're a Texans fan, if Davis Mills plays the way he did last year, then I wouldn't actually be surprised if they were better on this list, because I actually think the talent might actually be a little better, if that makes
They
sense.
definitely got better in talent. I just don't think it's enough to warrant them being higher.
And again, you said you thought the Bears were in their own level as
I
the
do think they are
worst.
at their own level at this point.
So at number 30, you have the Seattle Seahawks. I'm sure this is heavily impacted by the quarterback situation.
Yes, this
They
is
are
heavily impacted
currently
by the quarterback.
ranked as the, let me see here, 31st ranked pass game and the 30th ranked run game. So one of the worst across the board.
Look, a lot of these early ones are similar situations. I won't go through it. We already know what's up with the Seahawks offense. They're coaching. It's mostly a lot of these younger ones are coaching. Coaching is huge for these for the teams. It's literally the direction on how they run their offense. And this one, at receiver, obviously, you have a pretty good duo, Tyler Lock and Deacon Metcalf. One of the best duos probably in the league, actually. Their offensive line, they upgraded at tackle. Quarterback is just what really tanked this, though. If they were to be like 26th, 27th, that's because Drew Lock or whatever would have a pretty good year, but I just don't see it happening.
At number 29, this is one that surprised me. You have the Detroit Lions. So you have with the 26th ranked pass game and the 31st ranked run game, which for a team with a pretty solid tailback, at least leading in DeAndre Swift, and a very good offensive line on paper, seems a little low. So if you could explain this one here.
Again, I'm going to get right back to it. It's coaching, man. Like, I understand offensive line is very important. They actually did rank very high on offensive line, run wise and pass wise. But what really got me was number one, DeAndre Swift is going to play majority of snaps. He's not that good at running the ball. He's a very good pass catcher, but he's not great at running the ball. I think we can both agree at that. He's not an upper echelon runner of the ball as opposed to pass catcher. But again, a lot of this, there is inherent bias for me about coaching. I think coaching is super important. And no matter how good the offensive line is on paper, that's only one aspect of the game. And at quarterback, they don't have anyone mobile for that. Tight end, they don't really. TJ Hawkinson, obviously, very solid run blocker, pretty good run blocker, but he didn't. I'm trying to explain it. I think it's mostly coaching. I think mostly coaching is what ranked them lower.
Yeah. Spoiler alert. I don't necessarily think. I don't know if coaching would necessarily make them one of the five worst in the league. If I were just doing this, in my opinion, but I mean, I get where he's coming from. In a criteria like this.
Listen,
At
I'm not like oh, sorry, just one quick. I don't necessarily agree with all these opinions, but this is where my criteria got it. So I'm just
This is the
defending the
Lenny
criteria.
criteria,
I'm
guys.
defending the
You gotta
criteria.
respect it. He went through so many hours of
So
doing
many.
this.
So many.
At number 28, you have the Pittsburgh Steelers. Across the board, 27th pass and run game too. So
Similar situation. It's coaching. I mean, so we start to see a little bit an uptick in skills because you have Pratt Fryermuth. He's a solid tight end. He's on the rise. You have Kenny Pickett. His skills technically quarterback anyway. Kenny Pickett's on the rise. Or Mitchell Trubisky. You have Deontay Johnson and a pretty solid receiving core. And running back, you have Najee Harris. Like, you have pretty solid skills at there, but again, coaching, offensive line isn't that good either. I mean, it was a mess last year. What are you going to think about it now? They added one player, I forgot his name, at offensive line. He's really good. Give me a second, I can get him. Come on, I know
I'll look at the
Kevin
depth chart.
Zietler. Wasn't Kevin Zietler?
It might have been.
No, James Daniels. That's who it was. James Daniels. They got James Daniels this year. That was a great pickup. But just overall, the passing game is just a mess right now. I mean, who do they have? A Matt Canada at offensive coordinator. I mean, it's just, again, coaching in these rankings matter a lot more than you'd think. And without Big Ben there, I just think it's going to be a little bit of a mess pass wise and running.
All right, at number 27, you have the Tennessee Titans. The Titans have been a solid offense over the last couple years, but without AJ Brown, Lenny sees them declining. They were 15th last year in points per game and in yards per play. If my site will ever load, they were 21st, so not quite as bad as 27. They ranked 29th in pass game and 11th in run game. So that clearly shows the more pass heavy approach this list is taking, which I completely understand and agree with.
With this one, Taylor Lewan at left tackle was a big factor because a lot of these grades get boosted by how good your left tackle is because number one, it's a mortgage on how good your quarter or how long your quarterback's going to play for the year, and number two, it's a mortgage just on pass pro in general. And I mean, Taylor Lewan, just for the most part, he's been really disappointing the last year. Yeah, he was just, I mean, Chandler Jones, that one Chandler Jones game, man, I can't get that out of my head. Overall, they don't really have anyone good for passing wise. You're banking on Traylon Burks being a stud, which we don't know. I mean, he's a project that right now, in our opinion. And tight end, they don't have anybody. I mean, receiver, they just lost AJ Brown. Robert Woods is the only one I would say I know is going to be at least good, but we don't even know 100% if that's real because, injury. He's going to be out for half the year. So this is a very pass-oriented list, and they just lost their biggest pass contributor and didn't add anything else really outside of half a season of Robert Woods.
Yeah. I think their receiver position's certainly worse. I think their offensive line's weaker than it's been in years.
Hmm.
I think Henry is, when he was healthy, he was one of the best, if not the best, running back in the game. But how is he going to look after that? We don't know necessarily. So there's a ton of questions there. And plus, I don't really like the coaching there. So at number 26, the Carolina Panthers, they were bad across the board. 28th in pass game, 26th in run game.
The Panthers are getting better. I like that, but their coaching again, coaching. I'm going to hammer the coaching into this point because their coaching is terrible. I'm sorry. They
Worst
just got
coach
Ben
in the league.
McAdoo. They just got Ben McAdoo, an offensive coordinator. Okay, I'm not going to reward that in my rankings. All right. uh, with this, their offensive line got better across the board. Really, center's kind of question mark, and left guard's a little bit of question mark. But overall, it's way better than last year. But that's not enough to save them from the poor coaching and the lack of depth at receiver, the lack of a tight end, and the lack of a good offensive coordinator or just an average one because I just hate Ben McAdoo.
So they were 29th in points per game and 32nd in yards per play at 4.6, which means their offense was consistently failing to function at even a competent level consistently.
I forgot to mention that CMC, since he wasn't in that year, he will be also added as a full year. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not projecting injuries on this either. I
Yeah.
didn't mention that.
At number 25, moving up to the next tier, which is ass with upside. So the next three teams are still really bad, but if things go well, then they could actually be kind of decent. At number 25 is the Jags. You have them as the 24th ranked pass team and the 17th ranked rush team.
I
So,
mean,
yeah.
oh, for the Jags, when they're running the ball, I mean, I look at it across the board. I think it's solid. I mean, Doug Peterson, every single time they had him as their coach, and the Eagles, they had a strong run game every single time they were with them on their Super Bowl run. They relied on their heavy run game with play action on Nick Foles to win that Super Bowl, and they have a good mix: James Robinson, Travis Etienne. They just added Brandon Scherf. They get another year out of Jawan Taylor and. I forgot who they had at left tackle. But anyway, I just see a lot of upside in terms of Trevor Lawrence's development. They got Christian Kirk, which, he's not worth his contract whatsoever, but he's definitely an upgrade over who they had before. Marvin Jones Jr., he's solid. This is just overall, I see this team as I see some things I like. And with Doug Peterson coming, I think the coaching is going to get exponentially better from last year because they went from literally probably the worst coaching I think I'm ever going to see in my life to, oh yeah, that guy won a Super Bowl. He's all right.
Yeah. I definitely think they'll be a riser from where they were last year, which was they scored fewer points per game than anybody else in the league, and they were 24th in yards per play. So
Mm-hmm.
at number 24, you have the New York Jets, 25 in the pass game and 14 in the run game. So I think we're seeing some decent run games kind of take over the list a little bit here. So yeah, there's the Jets there.
Yeah, the Jets are an interesting team to me. Again, with the upside, I see Zach Wilson having potential to move up. I see Lake and Tomlinson and just the additions they made on offense, like Garrett Wilson as well, really just helping this offense in general. I like Mike LaFleur. This is where my bias comes in a little bit, just because I'm a Niners fan. I saw him with Shanahan and friends, and I thought he's a solid coordinator. And overall across the board, I think the only thing I'm worried about is receiver and quarterback, and it looks like that's going to be on the rise as well. And we talk about with the run game, they actually had a very productive run game last year, and I don't expect that to change with the addition of Lake and Tomlinson, and a whole season of Mekhi Becton and that running back they drafted. I'm not sure what his name was, but I like him.
Yeah, I think the
Brees
Jets are
Hall.
definitely an offensive line with a lot of potential too, and that gives them flexibility to do a lot of things in the pass game. At number 23, my Atlanta Falcons, which honestly at this point I'll take because I've lost all hope in the season without Matt Ryan. But 23rd ranked pass offense and the 13th ranked run offense, which is surprising.
Again, I'm going to say this again. Coaching, coaching, coaching. Arthur Smith, I love him. I love Arthur Smith. I don't know why I love him so much, but I know he's a great coordinator.
You love
He
him
did
because he won
wonders.
7 games with one of the 5 worst rosters in the league.
Yes, that is also why, because I don't know how he did that, but he did it. Marcus Mariota, obviously, he's a placeholder. I gave Drake London a little bit of a boost of what most people would normally rank him. I think Brian Edwards is going to contribute.
Kyle
Mike
Pitts is the guy, though, right?
Kyle Pitts definitely did add a lot to the rankings, though. Kyle Pitts definitely added the most passing wise as a receiver, or quote unquote receiver, because he's tight end. But at offensive line, you have Jake Matthews at left tackle, and the line is not good, but it's not awful anymore. I think it's okay. And like I said before, left tackle is a very big uptick in ranks. So Cordell Patterson's also there. I like a lot of things with the Falcons. I just don't like quarterback position, and I don't like the lack of a number one at receiver. Which
Yeah, I think with offensive line, Chris Lindstrom at right guard has to be the guy. He
mhm.
has finished over the last 2 years sixth and ninth, respectively, in overall PFF grade among guards. So he's been consistently one of the 10 best in the league. At number 22, moving up to the next tier, which is average with a weakness, that is the Washington Commanders. You have them as the 22nd ranked pass game and 18th ranked run game, so a little more balanced than the other two teams.
Mhm. I really like the offensive line for Washington. I really like that. Like they don't have any studs after Brandon Sheriff left, but they have really good across the board. I don't really see a huge weakness on their offensive line. And for Carson Wentz, I think that's going to help. Coordinator, I think he's all right. I don't remember his exact name, but I remember him being okay. And at receiver, you have Terry Cloran, obviously. I don't think. I think Jahan Dotson and what's his name, Curtis Samuel, are going to contribute in the passing game too. So they have depth at receiver as long as they play. Tight end, they have Logan Thomas. I'm okay with him. I think he's all right. And at quarterback, I think the weakness here that I was just talking about is Carson Wentz. If they had a strong quarterback here, like let's just say, I don't know, Derek Carr or like someone upper echelon, top 10 ish, this would be probably a top 10, top 15 offense. I don't see like a huge weakness across the board. I just don't see, I guess, dominance, and I don't see the quarterback position in offensive coordinator.
That's fair. At number 21, you have the New York Giants. The Giants are 20th in pass offense and 28th in rush offense.
Brian Dable is going to do wonders for this offense, considering they had Joe Judge last year, Jason Garrett. I mean, like, it's a huge upgrade. And then you're going to, I mean, we're assuming we're going to get a full season of Kenny Galladay. I think Daniel Jones is better than what people give him credit for. I don't think he's a great, but I don't think he's bad either. I think he's just been put in a really tough position with the lack of receivers and just overall help. We're going to get Saquon another year actually being healthy, or at least this might be the first year he's actually 100%. I haven't heard anything, setbacks or anything on that. Offensive line, they got upgraded. The tackles, they just got Evan O'Neal. I like that. I like their left tackle already, Andrew Thomas. I mean, assuming Brian Dable does a good job here, I really like their offense on paper, and I wouldn't be surprised if they ranked higher if Daniel Jones takes the extra step.
Yeah, that's definitely fair. I've seen the Giants actually get some hype because of the Dayball stuff. So I can see that. I think it really depends on the Jones jump, though, for
Mm-hmm.
them to be like even higher on this list. At number 20, you have the Arizona Cardinals. They are 19th in pass offense and 24th in rush offense.
Look, a big part of this list was what's it called? The receivers, right? When you look at receivers, I don't think they're bad at all. But when you lose DeAndre Hopkins for half the season, it makes me go like it definitely lowered them, probably lower than they were if they were 100% healthy. I like Marquise Brown as a number two. I don't love him as a number one, but I like the connection they can have with Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray is obviously a very good quarterback, but how good is he? In my rankings, I didn't put him at like super high. I think I put him like 13th, 12th, somewhere around there.
By the way, Lenny himself in the pre-show said he probably underrated his deep passing.
I will update these as as the off season goes on. These aren't
Yeah.
like set in stone or anything. I think this might be a little bit selling short. I do think that it could be better, but I understand where they're at right now and why. It's also part of it. Cliff Kingsbury, he's not great. He's not awful, but he's not. Is he that guy? I don't know. I don't think so. Offensive line, they don't really have anybody. Yeah, I mean
It's
they
an
do, but
older unit that has
yeah,
some names, but I don't think is as good as some people think.
no.
So, yeah. Moving on to number 19, which is one that I actually mentioned in the pre show, I actually thought was a little bit lower than I would put them. But that is the Minnesota Vikings. They come in with the 15th ranked pass game and the 20th ranked run game, which for a team with that's kind of with Kevin O'Connell bringing over that McVay play action, I guess, scheme, um, along with a team that has Dalvin Cook, who's one of the five best backs in the league, in my opinion. A little bit surprising, but
When I look at this, it's a lot of the what was it? A lot of the run game, in my opinion, is dictated within the tackles. I think tackles are important, obviously, to a run game, but for have a really successful one, you need to have good guards, you need to have a good center, and just quite frankly, their interior O line is really bad. Like it's not good at all, and their tackles, they're a right tackle. They have Brian O'Neill. I think he's all right. They just got left tackle Christian Darrisaw last year. I think he's going to probably take a jump this year. But considering Dalvin Cook is not and Alexander Madison are generally not 100% healthy, and the fact that I'm not 100% sold on Kevin O'Connell, like 100% being that guy, their run rankings went a little lower than maybe you'd expect. But anyway, for passing offense, they obviously have Kirk Cousins. They have freaking a good quarterback. They have a great receiving core, and they have I don't. Their offensive line's like okay
it's
now
not
with the
as bad as
Josh
it used to
Hill.
be, but it's still not good.
Anyway, they're most of them are bad at pass blocking, so that lowered their score a lot. Added on with the fact I'm not 100% sold on Kevin O'Connell being that guy either. So a lot of talent, but also I need to see how that talent's going to transfer over with Kevin O'Connell.
Where'd Kirk Cousins come in for the
I think I ranked him
scores?
12th. Let me check. It won't take that long. I ranked him 12th. I gave him fourth intermediate. Like again, this I'm probably going to change this because I gave deep ball third. I think he's probably better than that. Uh, Look, listen, I did these rankings like, and then I was just done. I didn't like overthink anything. I
No,
just
I
wanted
get
to.
it. I get it. At number 18, you have the New Orleans Saints. They come in with the 18th ranked pass offense and the 21st ranked rush offense. Obviously,
Yeah,
losing Sean Payton, but
I think Pete Carmichael isn't awful. I think he's okay. I think he's going to do a good enough job at getting the talent to play at talent's level. And a lot of those other offensive coordinators early in the list detract from the talent, in my opinion. And I don't think Pete Carmichael's going to do that. At receiver, this is really banking on Michael Thomas and Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston, I think, is okay. I don't think he's terrible. I don't think he's great, but I think he's at least like lower to mid kind of quarterback. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And at Michael Thomas, I'm really banking on him coming back and having a good year. I could totally be wrong in this. I really think Michael Thomas's production is going to be very important. I think at offensive line, they're not great anymore. Obviously, they still have Teron Armstead, and they're a
Ron Ramchick.
good. Sorry, Ryan Ramchick. My bad. And they're still a pretty good unit, but I mean, other than Ryan Ramchick, I'm looking at the line. It's a little suspect, I'd say, but it's good enough for me to probably rank them about average. Which this ranking, just considering how inflated NFL offenses are, is about average.
At number 17, you
Oh,
have Russell Wilson's new team. Sorry for spoiling that. Um,
this is a big question mark.
17th ranked pass offense and the 23rd ranked rush offense. So not exactly great there.
This is
Um,
a big thing. This is probably the biggest like what ranking of the list so far. Again, this is like my opinion. And in my opinion, I don't think Nathaniel Hackett is going to be a very good offensive coordinator, at least year one. I think there's just too much parity and this receiving core as well. I think it's just like they don't have a dominant guy. Obviously, that could change with the like we saw with the Rams, but the Rams have Sean McVay. The Rams, Sean McVay was able to scheme those guys open and make sure they had to put a situation to succeed. But I just don't see it with the Broncos. I just don't see with the receivers and no Noah Fant now how this core gets significantly better. And at offensive line, I think they're pretty average. I think they're not bad. Lloyd Cushenberry at center, left tackle, I don't remember his name, Garrett Bowles, I think. Um, it's just, I think the biggest thing is that I just don't believe in the coaching staff right now. It was like a Hail Mary hire for Aaron Rodgers. I just not feeling it. I just don't think based on what I've seen. I mean, you're the quarterback coach for the Packers. Like, how hard is that? Anyway, yeah, that's why I ranked the Broncos probably ranked there.
I think a lot of people would agree with that, and I think a lot of people would be saying, "Oh, they're one of the 10 best offenses in the league." So I think that's good. At number 16, you have the Cleveland Browns. Now, I think this is assuming Deshaun Watson is the
This
guy.
is a half a season suspension. I gave it like
So where'd
half.
Watson come in then?
He ranked 11th, but his overall value was probably some. Or no, he ranked 10, but his overall value would have ranked probably somewhere 22, 21 because he's only playing
That's
half the
completely
season.
fair.
And look, the Browns are a little overrated, assuming that Deshaun
Real
Watson doesn't
quickly,
play for most of the year.
completely imbalanced team.
Yes,
21st ranked pass offense and the best rush offense in the league, according to Lenny, is the Cleveland Browns. So they're very oriented towards one side of the ball, in your opinion, and that's the side of the ball that you think matters less in this
yes.
criteria.
Obviously, running the ball favors passing the game, the passing game. Sorry, I'm like jumbled up right now, man. We're like
It's completely
so many different teams, man. I'm like, um, obviously, running the ball favors the passing game in those areas, but the system was built around like them running the ball in a certain way is the value that they give to the team that includes play action stuff. So with the Browns at receiver, I'm not impressed. Frankly, I'm just not impressed. And if you're not going to have Deshaun Watson for half the year, you better have a pretty good receiving core to add on to that. Offensive line, I think they're great. Obviously, one of the best in the league. And it's just a receiver. You have Amari Cooper, which I don't think he's bad, but I don't think he's elite. I think he's somewhere in that pretty good to good range. And outside of that, who do you really have? David Njoku? I don't think he's bad, but I don't think he's great either. I think he's an okay pass catching option. And you also have Donovan People-Jones, who he's very one-dimensional deep threat. And I just wonder where you're going to – I mean, you have three viable options. I think your second, third best receiver is Kareem Hunt, and that's concerning, frankly, for a passing offense. But running offense, I think it's pretty easy to understand why they're ranked first, especially
Nick
with Deshaun
Chubb,
Watson.
Kareem Hunt, and maybe the best offensive line in the
Mm-hmm.
league, especially for
Yes.
run blocking.
And offensive coordinator have one of the best
Yeah,
schemers
a
for
very good scheme just overall for the run game. Good run game
yes.
coaches there as well. I completely think this is fair. I also think you have to equate the fact that with Watson, they'll have multiple different quarterbacks, so then they'll have to develop rapport with different guys, and that's
That's true
always
too.
hard to do.
Mm-hmm.
So at number 16, you have the Browns. At number 15, you have the Green Bay Packers. Now, this has been one of the best offenses in the NFL over the last 2 years. In 2020, they were near historically good. And last year, they were not quite there, but they were still one of the best offenses in the league. You have them with the ninth best pass offense in the league. I think that's just Aaron Rodgers. And with the run game, you have them 22nd, which is a little bit surprising considering they've got a good duo of tailbacks and they've got a very good offensive line, I think. So
Quick disclaimer. I don't think I explained this earlier, but personally, I just don't think running backs matter that much unless you're an elite option. I just don't think it matters that much. And
very,
for the Packers, they have a pretty solid, pretty good running back duo, but I just don't think it matters that much. And when I look at it, the offensive line, I just not impressed whatsoever. David Bakhtiari is very good. Elton Jenkins going to probably move to guard. Center, they have Josh Myers. I just don't think it's good enough. I just don't think it's good enough. I think
Mitch ranked them
passing
as like the
wise,
sixth or seventh best line, though.
I don't agree. Like, you know, the gif of Adam Sandler? I disagree. That's me right now. Um, I just it just doesn't impress me. I think Matt LaFleur, sorry, carries it very much. And Aaron Rodgers is obviously Aaron Rodgers. He's gonna get what he but at receiver, man, like Christian Watson, I actually gave a bonus. That's probably why they ranked ninth, because I gave Christian Watson a lot of credit, because I think he's gonna come out pretty good, better than people think. And I mean, like, who do they have really? Christian Watson, which we don't even
Lazard,
know.
Cobb,
Allen,
Sammy
Cobb, yeah.
Watkins.
Aaron Jones out of the backfield. Like, offensive coordinator, obviously Matt LaFleur has been one of the best in the league for as long as he's been a coach. But I
They lost a
running
couple
wise,
assistants there too.
I think mainly for the running offense is that they haven't been a great running offense ever since he's been on that team. And number two, their O line just doesn't impress me whatsoever. O line
I
is
think you're
very.
really underrating their offensive line, to be fair.
I
But
could be, but it's my list.
um, yeah, that's true. I think you're right about the not, outside of the Jonathan Taylors and Nick Chubbs of the world, running back isn't exactly ultra valuable in this NFL.
Ultra
And the
valuable.
Packers have been a team that has been more reliant on efficient pass game in the last couple of years than run game anyway. So,
Hmm.
speaking of a team that is very reliant on the run game, that is the Baltimore Ravens, who you actually have a fairly decent passing offense, 16th, and then of course they're third in rush offense. They're there every year.
This could totally be me overrating Greg Roman, but I don't think he's an awful passing coordinator. I think he's about average, and that's enough for the talent to overwhelm it. I think Mark Andrews is a stud. I don't think he's getting enough credit for how good of a year he had last year. I'm also banking on Rashad Bateman taking the extra step. I think at receiver they're very dry, quite frankly, but just how good Lamar Jackson is as a passer and a quarterback is going to very much elevate this unit, along with Greg Roman being, I think, an average passing coordinator, which people are going to disagree with me, which is fine. Obviously we all have our different opinions. And at offensive line, they're going to get Ronnie Stanley back for the whole season. They're going to get Morgan Moses this year, which at right tackle, Alejandro Villanueva was awful, by the way. And tackles and center, they drafted a new center. I forgot his name, but he's going to be
Tyler
really good
Linderbaum.
with that. Yep. And offensive line is looking really nice. I don't see a huge hole outside of depth at receiver and maybe like a dominant number one option. But overall, I like the offense. I think obviously the running offense is going to be elite like usual, and I think they're going to be pretty good.
Yeah, the Ravens are a team that I think is a little bit underrated entering this year because I think some of the teams with, I don't even want to say more flashy, but I guess more respected. Even when I'm saying for an MVP quarterback, but a more with more respective quarterbacks in the AFC, I think they're a team that's kind of being off the radar a little bit, but they're still a really talented team, and
Hmm.
that goes for the offense too. They've really outside of receiver, they're pretty strong across the board. So
Yeah, I agree.
moving up, you have the good offenses. These are solidly good, but they're not great. Starting with the Dallas Cowboys at number 13, which statistically was an elite offense last year. They
I do believe they
were
were the best, actually.
first in points per game, and they were third in yards per play. You
This
have
comes
them
from. Oh, sorry. You
with
keep going.
no, it's fine. You have the 14th ranked pass offense and the let's see here. Where is Dallas? Did I miss them? They're the 12th ranked run game.
With the Cowboys, I'm not like a huge fan of the Cowboys personally. Not like the fan base or whatever, but just like this team. I mean, you lose Amari Cooper this year, and CeeDee Lamb's going to slide into that number one spot. But Michael Gallup at number two is solid. I think that's a good receiving core, but it was way better last year just with Amari Cooper. Those are two number one options right there, and now you have a number one option and a pretty solid number two. And at offensive line, you lose Lyle Collins and Connor McGovern. Those are two starters, pretty good starters. Mind you, right tackle Lyle Collins was very good, and Connor McGovern was pretty solid too. And I just see that they lost talent and they didn't really add a lot. And frankly, I'm not impressed with the coaching super well, like a lot. Like I don't think he's bad. What's his name? Oh, God, I know his name. Come on,
Kellen
it's
Moore.
Kellen Moore. I think he's solid. I mean, obviously, he's not the worst in the league, but I just I'm not a fan of Mike McCarthy and Kellen Moore, and I just don't think they added anything, and they got worse in areas that matter a lot.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Dallas is an offense that could absolutely suffer a reduction in overall productivity. They're just not as talented as they were last year. And quite honestly, a lot of those statistics were gathered pre Dak injury. I think post Dak injury, they kind of farmed off bad
Oh,
teams.
I didn't mention this too. I kind of dunked Dak a little bit. I'm just not like as big of a fan as a lot of people are with him. So that's why I went down a little bit too.
At number 12, you have Durkant's Miami Dolphins. They are currently ranked as the 13th pass offense and the 8th ranked rush offense. I can tell that's Mike McDaniel influence.
Yes.
So, yeah.
I mean, I'm not like a huge Dolphins guy. I'm actually like lower on them. Like, it's just okay. So, like, before I said the Cowboys, I'm not a fan as in their roster. I'm not even like a fan of the Miami Dolphins. I just don't like the vibe with the team. It's always like a weird team, you know. Anyway, I was not expecting them to be this high, but when
South
you look
Beach, you
across the
can direct
board,
your hate mail at OG Lenny B on Discord.
go for it. Anyway, at offensive line, they upgraded across the board. Connor McGovern, we just talked about him. That he's going to move to center, which center is more higher ranked for passing offense because I believe it is more important significantly the guard. They dictate the entire offense. They're the quarterback of the offense. And at left tackle, they just got freaking Teron Armstead. I mean, stud, right? Like, I mean, he's going to be injured maybe this year. I didn't rank for injury, and I just see everywhere
It's
across the
just a
board
lot
on
better than it
offense.
was
They
last year.
just they just added talent and they added a better offensive coordinator. And Mike McDaniels, I mean, again, biased because I'm a Niners guy. I love they're my team and the Niners, Mike McDaniels, I've always been a fan of him. So yeah, I like what they've done this offseason on offense, on defense, maybe a little questionable, but we're not talking about defense. We're talking about offense. And on Tyreek Hill, I forgot to mention about Tyreek Hill. He's a pretty good player, I've heard. He was my number one ranked
Yeah, he's all
receiver.
right.
So, yeah, I think he's all right.
Is it brought down by Tua in any way?
So, yeah, Tua, I didn't rank as awful because I don't think he's terrible. I put him as 22nd best. And he's better than Daniel
Oh,
Jones,
okay,
which a
that's
lot of
fair.
people, and Jared Goff. So, I mean, I think generally he's a solid intermediate guy. His deep ball leaves something to be desired. Sorry. Ooh, that was a little bit of a jitter. But I just don't see with the talent that it doesn't elevate it enough, coaching and talent wise, for him to be higher than that.
At number 11, you have Mitch Mulaney's New England
See,
Patriots,
this
led
one's gonna
by
ruffle some feathers too. I feel like.
MJ10 Mac Jones, the 11th ranked pass offense, and the 10th ranked rush offense.
I feel like this is gonna get a lot of people mad, especially Dirk Hant. Like the Patriots, in my opinion, I don't see like the weakness really. A receiver, as long as Devontae Parker plays the whole year, like I'm not maybe expecting him to, but this is the ranking on if everyone's healthy the whole year. Devontae Parker, he is this missing link in the offense, man. I was watching every single play. I felt like with the Patriots, Mac Jones would throw a contested ball and they would never bring it down. It always made it was the best, like nice looking moon pass, and I was always mad every single time. But they got that aspect, the deep threat that is a contested catch guy. And Nelson Aguilar is a deep threat, but he was never that contested catch receiver. He was always, if he was open, hit him. But anyway, I
With
like the
speed.
receivers. I like the depth at receiver. And at offensive line, they have one of the best offensive lines, period. I love it. Michael Onwenu is just an absolute mauler in the run game. Tight end, they have Hunter Henry, another good pass catcher. That's 4 or 5 good pass catchers you have there. Jonnu Smith is going to be the 5th option. I like that if he's your 5th option. The run game, I mean, do I really even have to talk about it? You have the great offensive line. Bill Belichick obviously knows how to do a good run game. And Mac Jones, I just personally, again, a bias. I love Mac Jones, and maybe I ranked him a little higher than most people would, but I think he's going to take a step this year. And I just generally think this is going to be a pretty good offense, at least statistically. I don't see like a hole. I really don't see like a huge gaping hole. I
I'll
just
say
see.
this: I don't know if they have a ton of spots that wow me, but I don't. I agree with you in that there's not one position where you can go. That's going to be just where they crumble apart.
I think
Um,
receiver was that last year, but with Devontae Parker, I'm a lot more confident
they've
in that.
added explosiveness though.
They have.
Thornton is fast. Parker, when he's on the field, can be explosive. Bourne is still there, who was actually pretty solid for them last season.
Mm-hmm.
So
He had
they're
his best years of
I
playoff.
I I was the guy last year who was sounding the alarm bells with the Patriots offense, and I was right, by the way. But
Oh
I'm a
my
lot
god, I
higher on
forgot
them
about
this
that.
year. This might actually be the year where the offense is legit, but the defense I think is going to be worse. So at number 10, you have the Los Angeles Chargers,
I'm so salty
um,
about this.
the eighth ranked pass offense, and the 16th ranked rush offense.
I personally am just salty about this because I'm like a Chargers hater, man. I just don't like the
He's a
Chargers
Raiders
what they
fan,
did.
also, guys.
I'm also a Raiders Niners fan. Okay, so anyway, I look at the Chargers and I see a lot like similar to the Patriots, but better. An offensive coordinator, I'm not like impressed, but the talent around them is good enough to where they rank number 10. Justin Herbert, stud, stud, stud. I ranked him as the third best quarterback, I think, actually. I think he's that good. I don't think people are giving him enough credit, even though I ranked him fourth. Anyway, that's still pretty high. Um, I think people are underrating him still, even though he's great, just because he hasn't won a playoff game or been to playoffs yet. Anyway, offensive line, they are very good. The right side is questionable, but at center, they have the best center, which matters a lot to me. And they have a very good left tackle, which also matters a lot to me. At receiver, they have Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, which I'm not huge fans of. I'm not a huge fan of them, but Justin Herbert obviously is going to elevate them. And they're still pretty good receivers. So, running wise, similar story. Interior O line is good enough, and tackles are good. Running back Austin Eckler is good enough at running the ball, and they're going to be about average at running the ball. I think it's going to be a pretty good unit this year, but not, I don't think, elite.
At number 9, one that I am a little surprised is kind of low. I would have expected them to be in the top 5. That is the Cincinnati Bengals, the 5th ranked pass offense and the 15th ranked rush offense. They are in the first team in the great tier, so they're a great offense still to you. But
Yes, I do think they're still a great offense. So this one could change in the future because I made a last minute decision that Zach Taylor wasn't as good of an offensive coordinator as I thought he was. I still think he's pretty good, but I knocked him down one score, which matters a lot in these rankings. And I don't think I have to talk about this in a long time. Bengals offensive receivers and passing game. I think we know what's good about that. At an offensive line, they added talent though. They got Lyle Collins, which we talked about earlier. Very good starter. He's a very good pass protector. You also add Ted Karras at center. Again, center matters to me too. And at right guard, you add Alex Kappa, or is that the center? I'm trying to think.
Alex Kappa, that was
Yeah,
the right
Alex
guard.
Kappa. Yeah, I'm getting better at my at my player recognition because of these rankings. Like I looked at it for
Go.
so long. Yeah, memorizing players. Anyway, they don't have a hole outside of left guard on the whole offense. Honestly, they have explosiveness. They have everything you'd want. It's just at running the ball. I think that docked them a little bit too because it's like, well, you have Joe Mixon, right? And a lot of these guys are pass blockers. A lot of these guys, and I don't think uh, God, Zach Taylor is a great run schemer either. So I think that tampered off the overall score a little bit because running the ball still does matter at a level. It just isn't super valuable in that way.
It's not
So
as
I think
valuable
that
as passing.
this was tight, by the way. The top eight or top 9 to 6 were tight. These were very close scores.
At number 8, you have the Philadelphia Eagles. You have them with the 12th ranked pass offense.
Just listen to this real quick. 128.04 was their overall ranking for the Bengals. 128.72 was for the Eagles. So not a
So
huge distance.
0.68 was the actual difference
Mm-hmm.
between the two.
Yes, that's
Not
like I
even a
said.
point.
It was a
Um,
tight race here.
and the 5th ranked rush offense. Tell me what you think about the Eagles.
Look, the Eagles quite frankly, offensive line, I'm amazed by. I didn't know how good these players were until I put on the tape and looked at how good these younger players were. I don't remember exactly what the left guard was named, but I love that guy. Give me a second. I'm gonna get him because
So there's
I love this.
Maliata, who's a
Landon,
stud.
wait,
Brandon
right guard.
Brooks.
God, man, I'm like so disorganized at this, man.
It's fine, man. It's fine. It's hard to
Anyway,
remember everyone.
I fell in love with the Eagles' offensive line, and I think for pretty good reason. At receiver, they had AJ Brown. I mean, AJ Brown. I mean, I don't know if you guys have heard, but he's a pretty dang good receiver himself. And Jalen Hurts is really the only thing tampering this offense talent wise. Dallas Goedert, you have at tight end. You have
So
Devontae Smith. That's a
real
three headed
quickly
trio
here,
right
I don't know why I said Brandon Brooks. I'm stuck in the past. So it's
there.
Maliata, Landon
Oh yes,
Dickerson, Jason
yes.
Kelsey, Isaac Samalu, and then
That's
Lane
right,
Johnson.
Isaac Samalu. I didn't know who that was
He was
before. I looked
awesome
at it.
last year.
I know. I looked at. I was like, oh my god, how did I miss this guy? Anyway, I like ranked him super high, probably a little too high to be honest. I fell in
But
love
yeah,
with him anyway.
there's studs. Like Landon Dickerson may not be a household name, but anyone that watched him at Alabama, it would be impressed by him, and he had a good rookie year.
Mm-hmm. I just think Jalen Hurts is the only thing pass offense wise where it tailors the offense. I really think if they had like again, I'm gonna say Derek Carr again because I'm a Raider fan. Like that's just the first one to come to my brain. They're gonna be like a top three, top five offense. They again like with holes, they don't have any. And I think an offensive coordinator, I really like Nick Sirianni. I think I loved how he adjusted late into the year. Early in the year, he had a really tricky scheme. He was passing more than he should have, and it was just not working. And he found a way just to get the best out of Jalen Hurts, rushing wise and passing wise by the end of the year. And I'm a big fan of him.
At number 7, you have the Indianapolis Colts. They
Another
are
one. This is another one that's going to be like, what?
the seventh ranked pass offense, which actually surprised me they were that high, and then the second ranked rush offense.
I don't think that one's that big of a surprise considering last year.
No, it's not.
I'm quite frankly, I'm low. Like, if I'm just gonna like cookie cutter this, I'm not a big fan of Carson Wentz. I'm a big fan of Matt Ryan.
There
I
you
just
go.
think Frank Reich and Matt Ryan, that combination is going to be lethal this year. I look at Phillip Rivers in 2019 or 2020, sorry, when they played, they had a top 10 ranked overall offense. They had about an average passing offense with really bad receivers, by the way. T.Y. Hilton was their best receiver that year, 800 yards or something like that. And then they had like I researched this because I wanted to make sure this was like a correct ranking. I think not only is Matt Ryan better than Phillip Rivers, I think he's going to get an upgrade at receiver too. You have Michael Pittman there, and I think Alex Pierce is going to be an immediate contributor, which I don't know if a lot of people are saying. Which again, this goes into the bias. I think Alex Pierce is going to be an immediate contributor as a receiver too, which could totally not happen. By the way, you never know what
It's not
these rookies.
impossible, but it's assumed.
It's assumed, and it's bias again. But I mean, rushing offense, they had the best last year. Jonathan Taylor's a stud. Naheem Hines is going to, or was it Naheem Hines? I don't know. It's Hines at the end.
Naheem Hines, and they signed
I was
Philip
right.
Lindsay.
That just sounds weird, right? Naheem Hines? I don't know. He's going to be a pass catcher. I just, outside of a dominant maybe receiver too, I don't like passing wise, as long as
The
Matt Ryan
only
holds up his end of the
real
deal.
the only real questions I had, because I think Matt Ryan, where'd you rank him? I had him, I think
I had
14th.
him like 15. Let me see. I had him 15, 5 intermediate. I gave him a 3 at deep ball, which I think people would disagree with, but I still think he's a pretty solid. I think he's going to be
He
better.
graded decently well with the deep ball, but I think the arm strength kind of brings it down a bit because he doesn't throw as
Yeah,
many anymore. But
I
the
agree.
only
I
real
agree.
questions I have with them is right guard. I don't think that's particularly strong, but I think the rest of the offensive line is kind of set at this
Yeah.
point. And then I'm not completely sure of what to expect from Paris Campbell, but he has potential. At least he's fast, at least, so that's something.
I don't even think I ranked Paris Campbell in this. So,
But yeah, I mean Pierce and Pittman. That's a promising duo. It's not a great duo, but it's a promising one.
again, they could get Julio Jones in the later of the offseason, too. That could totally happen. That would also add to the receiving core, which, I didn't rank it, but still, just something to throw out there.
Moving on to number 6. I don't know
What's
why
going on
it's
with the
not showing.
graphic? There you
There we
go.
go. Number 6, the San Francisco 49ers, your team, Lenny.
See,
They
I'm
come
like
in
personally mad about this, even though I'm a
with the
Niners fan.
10th ranked pass offense and the 4th ranked rush offense. What do you know? The Niners rush offense is better than their pass offense.
I know, big surprise. I know.
So what'd you
I
rank for the quarterback? Who was it?
I ranked Trey Lance. I talked to my brother about this, and like he convinced me to do Trey Lance, even though I think Jimmy Garoppolo is going to start. Anyway, I ranked Jimmy Garoppolo 20th when healthy, and like I ranked him lower when not healthy because I just don't know if he's going to be healthy this year. But anyway, it doesn't matter. I didn't even rank him, so I gave Trey Lance. I actually put him at 33.
Jesus Christ.
Okay, is he better than Drew
You
Lock?
think
I don't
he's
know.
that bad, man?
Is he better than Drew Lock?
Jeez.
I don't think so. I don't think he's better than
I
Drew
think he's
Lock.
better than Drew Lock. Come on.
I don't know. I don't know. Anyway,
You,
this is my list. I don't care. I gave him a 3 as a deep ball, 0 intermediate. I gave him a literal
should I
0.
just let you be negative in peace?
Yes. Let me be a negative. Despite this, they're still the 10th ranked passing offense. Okay, so it's fine. Uh, a lot of this was carried by Trent Williams and Debo, which again last year was the same
And George
pace,
Kittle.
and George Kittle, and Brandon Ayuk too. I mean, they have so much talent on offensively. It's just ridiculous. I think the only thing right now is the offensive line is just not looking good. It's just Mike McGlinchey. Obviously, I make a meme out of him, but his passing offense is just it's just not good. His pass blocking is just not good. I'm sorry, it's just not. And at left tackle, you have Trent Williams, who's just an absolute stud. But on the interior, I mean, they have Daniel Brunskill. Like, I don't even know who the center's name is. Like, it's a mess after Laken Tomlinson left this offseason and Alex Mack retired. I'm expecting we get JC Treader, but I didn't rank him. So anyway, Niners outside of quarterback and interior offensive line, set. And I forgot to mention Kyle Shanahan had a big influence on the coaching.
I'm sure. At number 5, you have the Buffalo Bills. They come in with the second ranked pass offense and the 25th ranked rush offense. Surprising. But
Wait, that was gonna be worse or better?
well, I guess you're not accounting quarterback rushing into this because
Well, it
they were
is
top 10
accounted
last year in
for.
yards per attempt.
It's accounted for, but it's not like as big of a factor maybe like it could be.
I guess I can see it, but again, this is your opinion, so
I didn't know that. Okay, well, see, like I'm obviously like looking out to like talk about it
there's a
so I can
reason this
figure out
isn't
what's wrong.
final again. By the way, guys.
Exactly. This is like my second draft, and it's a lot of things that go into it. Anyway, I'll argue my point. Josh Allen, stud. Stephon Diggs, stud. Gabe Davis, I really like. Jameson Crowder, I really like. Offensive line, they have pretty good offensive line. They have a lot of really solid players. As opposed to studs at offensive line, I think it's pretty about average. They just added Roger Saffold, which I love. I love that move just for the run game period. At running back, they don't really have anyone who impresses me. They just got James Cook, but I think a lot of that's name value. I think he's undersized. I don't know. I think what didn't rank their run game that high was coaching. I mean, historically, I just don't think they've been good at coaching run offense. I think a lot of it has been their like if you're I just don't see what their run offense like their offensive line is based on pass blocking more than run blocking. Roger Saffold obviously adds to that in the interior, but a lot of them are just really good pass pro guys and just not great in the run game. And they don't have a lot of good running backs. Like they don't have a great running back. And coaching, I just don't think they just got Ken Dorsey, Brian Dable's out the door. I just don't see that getting better. I don't know. I could see why maybe I have to tinker this a little bit to get them a better run offense when I hear that they were the 10th best last year. But
They were not. I
yeah,
don't know if they were exactly inside. I know they were in the top 10 though.
here I'll look into it though.
Yeah. So real quickly, let me just see real quick here. Where the Bills were the 5th ranked rush offense in yards per attempt.
That's crazy, bro. There's no way that's crazy to me.
I'm just
I'll look
saying. I
into
think
it.
maybe you count Josh Allen a bit more. That would be my opinion, but it's your
Okay,
list.
all
I'm
right.
not gonna get mad at it. At number
Fair enough.
4, you have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They were the 4th ranked pass offense and the 9th ranked rush offense.
I
Pretty
don't know how
standard
this is a
flex.
hot take, man, but Tom Brady was my best ranked quarterback. I don't know how this is a hot
I
take at
had
this
him as
point.
the best quarterback in the
No,
NFL
but like
too.
I'll talk to people and they'll be like, "No, I think Josh Allen's better. I think Aaron Rodgers is better." He led this league in passing yards and touchdowns, guys. Like,
And his efficiency was
oh,
still great too.
he had a great efficiency. I mean, Antonio Brown walked out the door. Chris Godwin played half the season. I mean, if you watch like the end of the year, that offense was a mess. Like when they lost Antonio Brown and Chris Godwin, it was just a mess. And Tom Brady was still there trying to pick it up. I mean, it's not a lot to say about this just because we know how good it already is. I'm gonna save a lot of my ranting for the second spot, but anyway, yeah, that's why.
Yeah, I mean, I still think if I'm trying to win a championship for 2022, and that was what my list was based on, Tom Brady's the best quarterback in the NFL. But again, there's arguments to be made for Mahomes, Rodgers, Allen, but he's at least in the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
At number three, speaking of Mahomes, you have the Kansas City Chiefs. They are the sixth ranked pass offense. And I think what would be a little bit surprising to some, the seventh ranked rush offense.
Look, Andy Reid, I didn't have as a great rushing coordinator because I don't think he's great at it, but I had him at least average, and I think that's fair. He's not certainly not bad at it, and passing wise, I think he's probably the best in the league. He's the best at scheme everything. I mean, look what he did with Patrick Mahomes, with Donovan McNabb, and throughout his entire career, he's
Alex
just been
Smith.
fantastic at just scheming guys open and helping quarterbacks. And well, that means a lot to me. At offensive line, they're stacked. They're probably the best in the league, in my opinion, or at least second best. I mean, center, they have the best, arguably in the league. And then they have left tackle Orlando Brown Jr., which isn't great in the pass game, but he's solid, I think. And
Trey Smith is really good. Joe
Trace,
Tooney.
yeah, Joe Tooney took like kind of a step down from his New
He
England
was
days,
still
but
good
he
though.
was still very good. He was still very good. Anyway, Patrick Mahomes, they obviously still have. Travis Kelsey, they obviously still have. But I think the two things that are kind of concerning is if you think Patrick Mahomes was a product of his receiver, Tyreek Hill, obviously. Like if this ranking were to go lower, it would be because Patrick Mahomes would go lower because he doesn't have Tyreek Hill, which I don't agree with. I don't think that's true. And at receiver, just the lack of Tyreek Hill. I mean, at receiver, that's going to obviously negatively affect any offense. But when I look at it across the board at how good their offensive line is and just how good everything else is besides receiver, they still have Travis Kelsey there as a number one option. And I'm not like that discouraged from it. They're going to go from a vertical offense to a horizontal offense. They're going to operate as more of a Tom Brady timing offense more than just and take your shots downfield with MVS more than a just let's throw it downfield every play like they used to be. And I think it's going to be better for Mahomes long-term career-wise because it's going to when his arm strength starts to dwindle down, he's going to get better at deciphering offenses, learning how to do all that stuff. I think this is going to be good for the Chiefs long-term.
And they've got an offensive line that'll give him protection and allow him to have
Exactly.
that time to decipher.
Exactly.
So I'm with you. I think the Hill trade was good for them in the long term. I think to get that many draft picks for a 30-year-old's wide receiver, Tyreek Hill's awesome, but a 30-year-old wide receiver, what was he, 29, 30? He's getting up there a bit, and he's
Mhm.
also his best trait is his speed. So to get that package is just something you can't pass up. So
Yeah.
at number two, entering the elite tier. Now keep
Yes.
in mind, guys,
Yes.
Lenny put a bit of like a parentheses slash asterisks next to the
Oh
score here
man.
saying biased. But
This is biased.
it's
But
the
I don't
Las
care.
Vegas Raiders. They are the third ranked pass offense, the sixth ranked rush offense,
Look,
and
I
the second
mean,
ranked total offense.
I think a lot of it has to do with how good the offensive line is going to be and how good Josh McDaniels is going to be. Everything else I know is going to be good. As a Raiders fan, I just know it's going to be good. Left tackle, you have how did I forget his name? Colton Miller. I don't know how I forgot his name, and I remembered like Trey Smith better. But anyway, he had a
It
great
just
year
shows how
last year.
dialed in you are to this.
No, I know. I've like looked at these. I've been looking at just like these names for so long. Anyway, Colton Miller, yeah, he graded well, just passing wise, and I don't see the whole passing wise other than offensive line. I mean, Devontae Adams, you just got, and that's just huge. For this receiving core was just way overrated last year. I love Hunter Renfro, but he's not that good. He's not a receiver one, I don't think. He's a low end receiver one if he's a receiver one. And you saw last year just Derek Carr playing hero ball, man. I mean, last year they ranked as a top 10 offense statistically, but they really weren't on like when you watch them. And a lot of it was Derek Carr.
Talent
I'm going to
wise,
say
they
it
weren't.
again. Talent wise, they were not top 10. But you see here, offensive coordinator too. I mean, like, what was his name, man? He was not very good either. Like he was really bad actually. Like I think
Gruden,
John Gruden. No, not Gruden. I liked Gruden as a
the guy
coordinator, but
Bisaccia,
no, he was just the head
who was their
coach.
offensive coordinator last year.
He wasn't anyway. I don't think he was very good. He had like all these basic concepts and stuff. I was getting mad at the TV. Anyway, you upgrade an
Greg
offensive
Olson.
coordinator. Greg Olson. Yes, that guy is
There you
not
go.
very good. He is not very good. Anyway, he was the Bengals offensive coordinator, like Zach Taylor.
Not the
Not
tight
before
end, by
pre
the
Zach
way.
Taylor.
Not the
Yes,
tight
not
end.
the. Anyway. Get back on track. Because this is a huge thing. I have to like argue this to death. So they had a terrible offense coordinator last year, in my opinion. An upgrade to above average to really nice. I ranked him as the fifth or sixth best offensive coordinator, which could totally not happen. We've seen it before as a head coach that he wasn't like a great offensive coordinator or a great head coach. But I just have a good feeling about it. I just feel like he's going to be that guy. And if he's not, that's why it gets lower. But I don't see a reality where this isn't a top 10 offense at the very least, just on the pure talent. Offensive line, the only like you expect Leatherwood to get better. Andre James, I like at center. The guards aren't great. They're not good, actually. They're not good. But again, interior line with the guards don't matter that much to me in pass pro. And this ranked as what was the I think they were the second best passing offense. They were
They
the
were the
third best
third
passing offense.
passing offense.
And I just think if you're going to get a receiver one with a top 10 offense already and add like exponentially better at offense coordinator as well, I don't see why this jump can't happen. It's just based on if McDaniels is going to be that guy.
Yeah, so they were 18th in scoring offense last year, 14th in yards per play, but it was a really unbalanced offense
Yes.
because they were sixth in yards per attempt, but they were 27th in yards per carry. And so you've got to think if you're on the Raiders side of things and you believe in McDaniels, he's going to augment that significantly.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe they won't be a top five rush offense in the league, but they'll at least be competent, which they weren't even at 4 yards a carry last year. So,
Yes.
and at number one, you have the defending Super Bowl champion Los Angeles Rams.
The
You
Rams.
have them as the best passing off. So that you got to explain this one here. The best pass offense in the league, but the 29th ranked rush offense in the league. So how does a team with that bad of a rush offense still end up grading out as the best? Is the passing offense that much better than everyone else?
um. Okay, let me put this in perspective. Okay, this is gonna sound crazy. I can't just like looking at it. The Rams passing offense scored a score of 129.2. That's pretty high.
Yeah.
The second best was the
The Bills.
Bills, and they got 113.
So they were 16 points worse.
And to keep in mind that like a lot of these scores aren't that far away from each other. Like this is one of the biggest disparities in this whole list, like based on 1 and 2. And I believe in this passing offense a lot. Left tackle is the only thing I'm like, I don't know about. I don't think he's that good. I don't remember his name. Like I remember a lot of these players' names, considering how much I've looked at it. I think I've made that clear.
Is
Joseph
it
Noteboom.
Nobu? He played
Yes, Noteboom.
decently in the playoffs.
Yeah, but I just don't think he's like great. Anyway, offensive line, I think they're pretty good at the center. They have a good center. I think basically everywhere they're
Ryan
fine.
Allen.
Find a good. This is Sean McVay, Stafford, Cooper Cup. It's banking on Allen Robinson also having a good season, which we don't know is going to happen yet. We don't know if Allen Robinson's going to be that guy or not. I put him at like 28th best receiver, somewhere around there, at low end receiver one. I think I'm expecting him to get back up to a respectable receiver. I'm not expecting to have a huge jump, but when you look at it offensively, I don't see any hole really outside of the run game, which obviously I don't account for that much. And I mean, like Cooper Cup had a great year last year, obviously, like top 10 all time year. And it's just like if he keeps that steady pace and Stafford's as good as he was last year, of added chemistry, I mean, like I don't see any reason this can't be the best passing offense in the
Yeah,
league.
so I actually think Matt Stafford will be better than he was last year. And last year he was damn good.
Oh yeah, he
So
was great,
look, when you've
or at
got
least pretty good.
Matt Stafford, who I think is one of the 7 best quarterbacks in the league, Cooper Cup, who might be the best receiver in the league, and Sean McVay, who I personally think is the best coach in the league, your offense is going to be awesome.
Hmm.
Now, some of the supporting pieces, they don't necessarily have. I don't think Robinson's as good as Odell was or Woods, but
No.
he's still a competent number two. They get Higbee at tight end, which also helps.
Hmm.
The offensive line's weaker. I don't know if they'll necessarily be the best offense in the league, but they'll certainly be in the discussion.
I
And I
think
think they
something
may
that. Oh,
be
sorry.
a touch underrating their run game a bit. So
I could have totally be like again. I'm talking about like I'm not 100% set in stone on these rankings, but I think something that I'm underrating in these lists is just like the amount of change that in the offense. I mean, for the
that's fair.
Rams at left tackle, like this is just pure talent and how good I think the coaching is. It doesn't account for like new bodies. And for the Rams at left tackle, new body. At quarterback is this only his second year. At receiver two and three, they have new bodies. I mean, like they have a lot of new change, and that could totally be something that hampers the offense, especially considering how big of an impact Robert Woods and OBJ had. And how did I forget his name? The left tackle Andrew Whitworth
Whitworth.
had.
So yeah, thank you guys for watching this episode of the Laydown Podcast. This was a special episode for Lenny because I know he's been working really hard on this
I've been
for the
working
last
very
couple
hard.
months. So shout out to Lenny for making this. I hope you all have a great day and